Hi, I'm Jody Armstrong, and I work as part of Vaisala's applications team. And today I'm going to talk about installation options for dew point sensors. Dew point transmitters are commonly used in compressed air monitoring, drying applications, and power asset monitoring. And there are many ways to install dew point sensors into these types of systems. Today, I'm going to review some of the sampling and connection options we at Vaisala offer with our dew point probes and transmitters. Dew point probes are often installed directly into a system with a simple threaded connection, but if you are installing into a pressurized system, this usually involves a system shutdown, which can be time-consuming and costly. Using a sample cell addresses many challenges you might face when installing a dew point transmitter. Using a sample cell provides piping and system design flexibility, can enable you to avoid system shutdown during installation, and provides an opportunity for cooling when air is too hot for the sensor. I will walk you through the different sample cell options in a minute, but first let's review some best practices when installing a dew point transmitter. First, minimize connection points to reduce risk of leaks. You don't want moisture from outside the process leaking in. 2, no plastic or rubber tubing. Stick to high-quality metallic materials for connections and sealing, since most plastics will absorb water vapor. Teflon is an exception, which is acceptable for use for dew points down to -40 degrees. Third, avoid dead ends with no airflow. At best, installing into a dead end will mean a very slow response time for your measurements, but depending on the system, construction materials, and temperature variances across the system, the dead end air may simply never reflect the moisture content of the air in the rest of the system. Fourth, ensure that the gas temperature stays higher than the dew point at all times in order to avoid condensation. This sometimes means heated or insulated tubing. Fifth, be mindful of pressure changes and pressure drops between the sensor and the air you care about measuring, since dew point is pressure dependent. All of Vaisala's dew point probes offer a standard 1/2-inch NPT or ISO threaded fitting body. Our sample cells are designed specifically to mate with the ISO 1/2-inch connection. So when ordering a transmitter, if you plan on using a Vaisala sample cell, you will need to select this ISO fitting body. The sample cells are not compatible with an NPT thread. The NPT process connection can be selected when installing the probe directly into a process or when mating with an NPT thread that is already installed. Our most used sample cell is the DSC74, which is specifically designed for compressed air applications. I'll install this onto a DMT242 probe for demonstration. Once installed, the process connection between the probe and sample cell is pressure tight up to 10 bar. If you look here, you can see that the probe tip takes up most of the space in the sample cell chamber. There's a threaded inlet at the top of the sample cell and a leak screw on the side. This leak screw is the defining feature of the DSC74 sample cell. When opened a half turn, this leak screw will allow for about 1 liter per minute of airflow past the sensor, without creating a significant pressure drop around the sensor, which would compromise the integrity of the dew point measurement. The sample cell body has an ISO 3/8-inch thread for the inlet connection, but when you buy a DSC74, we include these 3 adapters along with it. 2 of these are just thread adapters, and the last is a quick connect fitting for easy spot checking. Here I have the DMT242SC sample cell, which I will attach to this DMT143 dew point transmitter. And as you can see, once installed, the sample cell provides a threaded inlet and outlet. This sample cell is a great option if you plan to design a custom installation with appropriate pipe design and any necessary valves or flow meters. The DMT242SC sample cell connections are metric threads, but we also offer an equivalent sample cell, part number SC-025NPT, that provides a 1/4-inch female NPT connection for both the inlet and outlet of the cell. In addition to the DMT242SC, we also offer the DMT242SC2, which has Swagelok connectors for 1/4-inch piping for the inlet and outlet. This is easy to pair with our cooling coil. The primary application for the cooling coil is to allow for gas to cool enough to be safely measured. Almost all of our dew point probes have an operating temperature between 60 and 80 degrees C, so if the gas temperature is above that, it will need to cool before reaching the sensor. The stainless steel construction of the coil and its length typically provide enough heat transfer to cool the gas to acceptable temperatures. The other, less obvious use for the cooling coil is as a venting coil on the sample cell outlet, in which case the coil serves to prevent ambient humidity from backflowing into the sample cell when the pressure entering the sample cell is either low or atmospheric. I hope this has served as a helpful review of our sample cell offering, but if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to our applications team. All built on the reliability and accuracy of Vaisala's sensor technology.